Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at some recent news from the Korean American community in New York.
Yeah,
You've sent us a really interesting mix of sources.
it is.
Weather reports,
Yeah.
election coverage,
Uh-huh.
economic updates, even some health statistics.
Fascinating mix, right?
It's really
It's like we've got hyper-local news with national and even international implications all kind of tied together.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how it all connects. So why don't we start with something that's affecting everyone in New York right now?
Okay.
The weather,
Okay.
our sources report that it's a frigid 19 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow.
But with the wind chill, it feels like a bone-chilling 4 degrees. I'm already shivering just thinking about it.
Yeah,
So-
that's way colder than usual for this time of year.
Yeah.
And you know that extreme cold can have consequences that go beyond just needing an extra layer or two.
Right.
We could be talking about impacts on infrastructure, like frozen pipes,
Oh, yeah.
increased energy demands,
Mhm.
and even risks for those who are more vulnerable, like the elderly or people experiencing homelessness.
That's a really good point. It's easy to forget about the wider impact when you're all bundled up inside.
Yeah,
Our sources also mention a prediction for snowfall, about an inch.
okay.
Is that enough to cause any real disruption in a city like New York?
Well, an inch of snow may not sound like much.
Right.
But, it all depends on how quickly it falls. If we get like a sudden burst, it could definitely lead to travel delays,
Sure.
especially for folks relying on public transport.
Uh-huh.
And, if the city isn't prepared,
Right.
even a small amount of snow can make things difficult.
Yeah, it could throw everything off.
Yeah.
So for those of you in the New York area, this might be a good time to check those weather apps.
Yes.
And maybe stock up on some essentials just in case.
Always good to be prepared.
Now let's move from the frosty streets to the upcoming New York Korean Association presidential election.
Okay.
What really caught my eye here is that there's only one candidate running,
Oh,
Suk Lee.
interesting.
So,
So that's pretty unusual, actually.
yeah, it is.
And it speaks to the importance of this organization within the community.
How so?
Well, the New York Korean Association plays a really crucial role in advocating for the Korean American community's needs.
Okay.
They offer a wide range of services, from cultural events
Mhm.
to legal aid
Uh-huh.
and social support programs.
I see.
So even with a single candidate, this election matters because it sets the direction for the entire organization and how they address the concerns of the community.
So it's still a pretty big deal.
Definitely.
All right, well, I'm seeing that Lee's platform is focused on 3 main areas.
Okay.
Promoting generational unity,
Right.
supporting undocumented immigrants,
Mm-hmm.
and assisting Korean seniors who may be facing gaps in government aid.
That's a lot to tackle.
These seem like pretty ambitious goals.
Well, they are, but they really speak to the evolving needs of the Korean American community,
Uh-huh.
not just in New York, but nationwide.
Okay.
For example, bridging generational gaps is so important in any immigrant community
Right.
because sometimes cultural differences and shifting priorities can lead to division.
Yeah, it's almost like you're trying to build a bridge between 2 different worlds.
Exactly, each with its own set of values and experiences.
Right.
And then you have the issue of undocumented immigrants, which is a complex one.
Yeah, for sure.
A group that is often vulnerable and in need of support.
Uh-huh.
Lee's focus on this really highlights those vulnerabilities and the need for strong advocacy.
Okay.
And as the Korean American population ages, ensuring that seniors have the resources they need is also becoming incredibly vital.
Right.
It's a challenge many communities are facing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Lee's platform is really trying to address the needs of the Korean American community
Yes.
across different generations and circumstances.
Uh-huh.
But I'm also seeing some political drama unfolding in our sources.
Oh.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
What's going on?
He's facing a lot of pressure to resign due to these allegations of bribery and corruption.
Oh, wow.
There have even been mass resignations of deputy mayors in protest.
That's serious.
What are the implications of all this turmoil? I mean,
Well, it's definitely a big deal, and to understand the potential consequences, we need to look at how a mayor can actually be removed from office
Okay.
in New York City.
Mhm.
The ultimate power lies with the governor, Kathy Hochul, but it's not a straightforward process.
so there's a whole procedure.
Right, there are investigations,
Okay.
potential hearings,
hmm
and a final decision from the governor.
So it's not just like he gets voted off the island.
No, not quite.
There's a whole system in place.
Yeah.
And this political uncertainty,
Yeah.
I mean, could it have like a ripple effect on the city?
Oh, absolutely. It could impact the mayor's ability to govern effectively.
Right.
Hinder essential city services,
Uh.
slow down policy decisions, really disrupt the everyday functioning of the city government.
So for those of you listening in New York, this isn't just some juicy news story.
No.
This situation has the potential to affect your lives.
Right.
Now, while we're on the topic of national trends, let's delve into some other intriguing headlines.
Okay, sounds good.
First up, we have a trend that's been raising eyebrows across the country.
Right.
U.S. citizenship renunciations are on the rise,
Really?
with almost 5,000 people giving up their American passports last year.
Wow, that's a big decision.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm curious about what's driving this.
Me too.
I mean, it seems like a pretty big step to take.
It is a significant decision, and it's rarely taken lightly.
Right.
So while there could be various personal reasons, a few common factors are starting to emerge.
Okay, like what?
Well, one that's often cited is the complexity of the U.S. tax system.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
American citizens and green card holders are required to report their global income.
So no matter where they live.
Regardless of where they live.
Wow.
Yeah, and this can create a real financial burden.
I could imagine.
Especially for Americans who are already paying taxes in their current country of residence.
Like a double whammy.
Exactly.
So it's not just about leaving the U.S.,
Yeah.
It's also about those financial ties that remain.
Right.
Wow.
And then there's the appeal of dual citizenship.
Okay.
Many countries allow their citizens to hold multiple nationalities,
Uh-huh.
which can open doors to things like visa-free travel to more destinations.
Oh, that's nice.
And it gives them greater flexibility for work and living arrangements.
So it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be attractive in our globalized world.
Right.
But it also makes you think, like, what does this trend say about the relationship between Americans and their country?
That's a good question.
Is it purely practical, or is there like a deeper sense of disillusionment?
Yeah.
Or a search for something better elsewhere?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It really is.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another hot topic.
Okay.
Our sources report that illegal border crossings have hit a 4-year low.
Interesting.
The current administration is calling it the Trump effect,
Oh.
suggesting that policies from the previous administration are responsible for the decline.
Okay.
But is it really that simple?
Well, I think it's rarely accurate or helpful to attribute a complex issue like immigration to just one factor.
Right.
While certain policies might have played a role,
Sure.
we also need to consider other variables like economic conditions, both in the U.S. and in the countries people are migrating from, seasonal patterns,
Yeah.
and even the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on global travel.
So it's much bigger than just one administration's policies.
It's about looking at the long-term trends and taking into account multiple factors.
Right, to really understand what's going on.
Exactly.
All right, let's switch gears to the world of automobiles.
Okay.
Our sources indicate that President Trump is considering a 25% tariff on imported cars.
Wow.
This could impact Korean car manufacturers like Hyundai and Kia,
Yeah, they have a big presence in the U.S. market.
right, who has a significant presence in the U.S. market.
Right.
What kind of impact do we talk about here?
Well, a 25% tariff could significantly impact Korean automakers.
Okay,
It would make their vehicles more expensive for American buyers,
Right.
potentially reducing sales and their overall market share.
I see.
On the other hand, it
Yeah.
could benefit American car companies by making their products more price competitive.
So it's a potential win for some
Right.
and a potential loss for others,
Rightly.
but I imagine there are broader economic implications as well.
Yeah, there are. It's important to remember that tariffs can have unintended consequences.
Like what?
Well, they might protect domestic industries in the short term,
Uh-huh,
but they often lead to higher prices for consumers.
right.
And they can even spark retaliatory tariffs from other countries,
Oh, wow.
which ultimately harms global trade and economic growth.
So it's like a delicate balancing act with potential repercussions down the line.
Exactly.
Right. Now for something completely different.
Okay, let's hear it.
Elon Musk is leading a new initiative called the Government Efficiency Bureau.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard about this.
I have to admit, this one piqued my curiosity.
Mine too.
What's the real purpose behind this?
Well, it's definitely generated a lot of buzz and speculation.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Some people see it as a genuine effort to streamline government processes,
Okay.
reduce waste, and make government operations more efficient and responsive to the needs of citizens.
Okay, that makes sense.
But others are a bit more skeptical.
What are they skeptical about?
Well, they question Musk's motives,
Mm-hmm.
and they worry about potential conflicts of interest considering his involvement in various businesses.
Right.
They're concerned about transparency and accountability.
So it's kind of a wait-and-see situation to figure out the true intentions
Yeah, I think so.
and the impact.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds and what concrete changes, if any, come from it.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
On the more somber note, our sources report that over 2,500 Korean-American deaths have been attributed to COVID-19 in the past 5 years.
Oh, wow.
It's a stark reminder of the pandemic's lasting impact, even as we try to move forward.
It really is.
If-
It highlights the importance of continuing to address health disparities
Right.
and ensure equitable access to healthcare and resources for all communities,
Yeah.
especially those that are more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
The Korean American community, like so many others, has shown incredible resilience.
Yeah, they have.
But this pandemic's effects will likely be felt for years to come.
It's a reminder that behind the statistics are real people.
Yeah.
And real families
Absolutely.
who have been deeply impacted by this global crisis.
It's a loss that we can't ignore.
Absolutely not.
And it's crucial to keep that human element in mind as we navigate the ongoing challenges of a post-pandemic world.
Right.
It's about understanding the individual stories within the larger narrative.
Absolutely. All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about a story that hits closer to home for the Korean American community in New York.
Okay.
Our sources are reporting on the upcoming presidential election for the New York Korean Association.
Right.
And what makes this election interesting is that there's only one candidate running,
Oh, wow.
Yoon-suk Lee.
So, that's unusual.
It is unusual, and it really speaks to the significance of this organization
Yeah,
within the community.
definitely.
The New York Korean Association, they play a vital role in advocating for the needs and interests of Korean Americans in the city.
Yeah, they really do.
They provide a wide range of services, everything from cultural events and legal aid to social support programs and business networking opportunities.
It's a really valuable resource for the community.
So even though there's only one candidate, this election is still important
Absolutely.
because it will shape the direction of this organization.
Yeah, it sets the agenda for how they're going to address the community's concerns.
So what are some of the key points of Lee's platform?
Well, his platform focuses on three main areas:
Okay.
promoting generational unity,
Okay.
supporting undocumented immigrants,
Uh-huh.
and assisting Korean seniors who may be facing gaps in government aid.
These are some pretty big issues.
They are, and they really reflect the evolving needs and challenges of the Korean American community.
Not just in New York, but across the U.S.
Exactly.
Let's break those down a bit. What does promoting generational unity actually entail?
Well, it's about bridging the gap between different generations within the Korean American community.
Okay.
You know, as with any immigrant community, there can be cultural differences and shifting priorities between those who immigrated to the U.S. and their American-born children and grandchildren.
Right. It's like trying to build a bridge between two worlds,
Exactly.
each with its own set of values and experiences.
Right, and Lee's focus on generational unity really highlights the importance of understanding these differences, fostering dialogue, and finding common ground.
So it's about making sure that the younger generation feels connected to their heritage,
Yes.
while also navigating their own unique identities as Korean Americans.
Exactly.
And what about the issue of supporting undocumented immigrants? That's a complex and often contentious topic.
It is, and Lee's emphasis on this issue speaks to the vulnerabilities that undocumented immigrants face, many of whom are Korean.
Okay.
They often lack access to basic services and live with the constant fear of deportation.
Right.
So his platform aims to provide support resources and advocacy for this often marginalized group within the community.
It sounds like he's trying to create a safety net for those who are most at risk.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And what about assisting Korean seniors? What specific challenges are they facing?
Well, as the Korean American population ages, there's a growing need for support services for seniors.
Okay.
Many Korean elders face language barriers,
Right.
cultural isolation, and limited access to healthcare and social services.
They might also struggle with things like economic insecurity
Yeah, absolutely.
and housing challenges.
Exactly. So Lee's platform seeks to address these needs by providing culturally sensitive programs and advocating for policies that support Korean seniors.
So it sounds like Lee's platform is really trying to address the diverse needs of the Korean American community across different generations and circumstances.
He's aiming to be a voice for a wide range of people within the community.
It'll be interesting to see how he tackles these issues if he's elected.
Definitely.
Now let's turn our attention to another story that's been making headlines. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is facing mounting calls to resign
Oh, really?
amidst allegations of bribery and corruption.
Wow, that's serious.
We're even seeing mass resignations of deputy mayors in protest.
So this is a pretty big deal.
It's some serious political drama, and I'm wondering, what are the implications of all this turmoil?
Well, it's definitely a significant situation, and it has the potential to impact the city in a number of ways.
Right.
To understand the potential consequences, I think we need to look at the legal complexities surrounding the removal of a mayor from office.
Okay.
So in New York City, the power to remove a mayor ultimately rests with the governor, Kathy Hochul. But it's not a simple process.
So there are certain steps involved.
Yes, there are specific steps involved, including investigations,
Okay.
potential hearings, and ultimately a decision by the governor.
So it's not a quick or easy process?
No, it takes time, and there are a lot of moving parts.
What are some of the potential impacts of this political instability on the city?
Well, all of this political uncertainty can create a ripple effect throughout the city.
In what way?
It can affect the mayor's ability to govern effectively.
Right.
It can hinder essential city services,
Sure.
slow down policy decisions,
Sure.
and disrupt the smooth functioning of the city government.
It can also erode public trust.
Yeah, definitely.
And confidence in the city's leadership.
Absolutely.
So this isn't just a political soap opera.
No, it's not.
This situation has the potential to directly impact the lives of everyday New Yorkers.
It's a reminder that politics isn't just an abstract concept. It has real-world consequences that can be felt by everyone.
Now, while we're on the topic of national and international trends, let's dive into some other intriguing headlines from your research.
Okay, sounds good.
First up, we have a story that's raising eyebrows across the country. U.S. citizenship pronunciations are on the rise. Well, we covered a lot of ground today, from freezing temps and political scandals to global economic trends and the pandemic's lasting impact. It's been quite a journey through the Korean American community in New York and beyond.
Yeah, it really shows how interconnected everything is, you know. Local events can have national implications, and global trends can impact individual lives.
So for our listeners out there, what's the takeaway from all of this? Why should they care about these stories, even if they're not directly part of the Korean American community in New York?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of why we do these deep dives. You know, these stories matter because they touch on universal themes and challenges that resonate with people from all backgrounds. The issues facing the Korean American community in New York, economic inequality, immigration concerns, political representation, access to healthcare. These are issues that so many communities across the U.S. are dealing with.
It's like we're looking through a window into the broader American experience.
Exactly, with all its complexities and contradictions.
Right. By understanding the experiences and perspectives of a particular community, we can gain insights into the larger forces shaping our world.
Yes.
And recognize how interconnected we all are.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to our final thought-provoking question for our listeners. Considering everything we've discussed today, what do you think the future holds for the Korean American community in New York?
Yeah, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities that lie ahead?
What do you think?
This is where you come in, listeners. Use your own critical thinking skills. How do you see these trends playing out? What solutions or innovations could emerge to address the challenges we've discussed?
Yeah, and we encourage you to keep exploring these topics and engaging with the issues that resonate most with you. There are tons of resources available online through community organizations within your local communities.
It's all about staying informed and engaged.
That's what the deep dive is all about, empowering you with knowledge, sparking your curiosity, and encouraging you to continue the conversation.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into a new set of fascinating topics.
See you then.